What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 43 of the Yard Podcast. I'm your host, Randy.
And I'm your host, Konu.
And we've got a lot to talk about this week with pitchers and catchers reporting to camp tomorrow on Wednesday. The Dodgers made the Trevor Bauer signing official. Justin Turner is back for another 2 years. We had a couple trades go on. We have an update on fans attending spring training games, and we have to give our predictions for the 2021 season. And then, of course, we'll finish this up with updating you guys on some of the bigger moves going on around the league. So we want to jump right into this. And first thing I want to say is congratulations to Austin and Nicole Barnes on the birth of their son, Royce, last week. We've seen a lot of engagements, a lot of weddings, a lot of babies coming on their way. So congratulations to them. They are home and healthy. Good week for the Barnes family. We'll get into that in a little bit here, but even better news, we finally got the official opening day start time for the Dodgers. The Dodgers will begin the 2021 season on the road in Colorado on April 1st. It's a Thursday at 1:10 p.m. So they are actually on ESPN that day. There's like 4 games on ESPN. So we got a nice day of baseball coming up.
That'll probably be like the middle game, huh?
Yeah, I think they're the second game of the day because I want to say the White Sox are playing the Angels. It's actually all pretty decent games. I'm excited. The only game that's probably not going to be a good game, ironically, is the Dodgers game because they're probably going to just like blow out the Rockies. Maybe. It's Colorado. So
yeah, that was my thing. Like I know the Rockies aren't really good, but opening up in Colorado is going to be rough. It's going to be a rough start for the pitching staff. I mean, it's good news for people who don't like Bauer because you're going to be able to jump down his throat pretty early. But the Dodgers offense should still carry them to some wins, but I think it's going to tire the arms out a little bit very early on.
Yeah, I will say that is not something I thought about. This might not be all that great for our pitchers to be starting there. And they don't even have an off day. They go from Colorado straight to Oakland. So they play 4 straight games in Colorado. And then they have
it's a 4-game series?
Yeah. So Thursday through Sunday. Done. And then they head straight to Oakland. So luckily they've got an off day off a week into the season. That's first Thursday. That's not opening day, obviously. So hopefully they can kind of catch up before they head back home for that opening series. I think it's a Friday against the Nationals, but yeah, I guess that's a challenge for the pitchers right off the bat. But hey, I will say it's a great way to start if you're the offense, because like if you want your guys coming out hot, feeling good about themselves, throw them in 4 games in Colorado when the pitching is probably still trying to figure it out, and we may have something going for us. But I'm excited. I think that should be a pretty fun series for us. So the Dodgers announced that they have found basically the replacement for Alana Rizzo. They announced that Kirsten Watson is the new reporter and host for Sportsnet LA. With Alana leaving last month, Kirsten seems like the perfect fit to take over. She has worked for Spectrum over the last 2 years, where she covered the Lakers, the Sparks, and the G League South Bay Lakers as a reporter and host for Spectrum Sportsnet. So she's already got the whole LA vibe, I guarantee, with her. She's been around doing it, so I love it. She's also actually works currently as a producer for the NFL as well. So she's stepped her toe in all over the place, which I completely respect. It's great when you kind of get them from all different aspects, because you learn a little bit. You learn different stuff in basketball, football, baseball, broadcasting. So I'm actually very excited to see her, and I hope she's already in Arizona. Don't know how much reporting she'll be able to do up close, but I'm excited to see her start interacting with our players hopefully this week. Another spring training, I guess not a spring training update, but it is an update along those lines about whether Bellinger will be ready to go for spring training. And things are sounding good after he had his shoulder surgery back in November. Roberts was asked about his progress, and as of last week, he said Bellinger has been taking one-handed swings with his left arm, and that he expects him on the field ready to go for the first full squad workout, which is on February 23rd. And he did say that there will be no limits defensively for Belly once workouts begin. So that's great. But I think you and I have had a little conversation about this.
Yeah.
And what this shoulder surgery could mean for Bellinger.
Yeah, I just don't want it to turn into like this Matt Kemp situation where like he was never the same again and like all his power had been sapped. I think the good news though for Belly is he's decreasing his strikeout rate. So he's better at being able to his ability to shorten up his swing with 2 strikes. So even if his power is gone, he should still be a pretty decent hitter with slapping the ball to off fields, and then using his speed. Now, obviously, I don't think it's going to be that drastic of a change. Like, he's not going to turn to Billy Hamilton or Luis Castillo or Jose Reyes or anything like that. But I think if something were to go wrong and there's like no power in his shoulders, he should still be a pretty good hitter just because he's able to slap the ball around the field and then use, his athleticism to get him through.
Yeah, and there's definitely no reason, I don't think, right now to think anything can go wrong, but with shoulders, it's just that's where a lot of his, I mean, it's the power. We've seen guys lose their power after shoulder surgery. We could see, and not to mention the dead end ball coming into play could knock down his power. I'm not concerned about it, but it is something that I want to watch this season.
And I think the shoulder is what has teams and people scared about Chris Bryant.
Yeah, that's true too. They said his power numbers have dropped off. So all we can do at this point is just hope the Dodgers, which I fully 100% believe that they know what they're doing and they're going to do the best they can for him. First full squad workouts coming up very quickly next week. So we'll see what happens when he's out there on the field taking some BP. But I'm hoping it's nothing too serious. He still had that power even when he was dealing with it being dislocated. So hopefully it's a little bit different than these other injuries that we saw with like Kemp and Bryant. I don't think there was a tear or anything. It was just, I'm assuming because it was a dislocation, maybe just a loose. Yeah. So definitely, I don't think any reason to worry just yet, but there are some questions around what that could do. But speaking of getting ready for spring training, we do have some great news for those of you who are planning to attend some spring training games. Obviously, if you can get tickets quickly enough, it was announced that the Dodgers will have 2,400 fans to be allowed at Camelback Ranch this year for spring training games. That's about 18% full capacity. Tickets are being sold in pods in either groups of 2, 4, or 6, and the pods will be 6 feet away from one another. Tickets go on sale February 20th at camelbackranch.com or dodgers.com/spring. Some rules include social distancing at all times. You must wear a mask at all times unless you are eating or drinking at your seat. However, net gaiters, bandanas, and masks with valves will not be allowed. Those are not considered masks at Camelback Ranch. Concessions and retails will be cashless. Practice fields are closed to fans, so you will only be allowed to attend the games. And bags will not be allowed into the stadium unless it is for medical reasons or a diaper bag accompanying an infant or young children. So if you wanted to attend a game, all the luck to you. 2,400 tickets is not very much, although it's going to be great to finally see fans back out there. Just as we've continued to say, please follow protocols and stay safe, because I would like to attend a game in October this year at Dodger Stadium with 55,000 fans. So please do what you can to be safe at these games, and let's get these stadiums packed with fans sooner rather than later. Would be fantastic. We've been talking about the last couple of times I feel like we've signed off the podcast, I kept mentioning spring training games. Do want to let you guys know the schedule has been slightly revised. The first game is no longer on February 27th. It is actually on February 28th, which is a Sunday. We will be playing the A's our first game instead of the Cubs. However, we will be seeing Jock and the Cubs on March 4th. So only being pushed back a couple of games. And that's it for the spring training side of things. If you watch, this is just kind of something cool. I think that will be fun. Not fun, but glad to see that they're honoring the memories of two Dodger legends. If you watched Trevor Bauer's press conference last week, you might have seen 2 new patches on the jersey sleeves, like John Hartung had tweeted out that he noticed. They are actually going to have a number 2 and a number 20 on their jerseys, the sleeve patches this year, to honor Tommy Lasorda and Don Sutton. So I thought that was pretty cool. Speaking of the Trevor Bauer signing, we did mention to you guys last week, in order for it to become official, they would have to make a move, and they did that before his press conference, and they DFA'd Josh Sborz. As of now, I don't think anyone's picked him up, so he's still kind of just chilling there. He's probably going to end up back on the Dodgers, most likely, is my guess. But not really much to worry about there.
So Sborz, he felt like he never really had a spot on this team. Like, he couldn't really find a role in the bullpen. He wasn't good or great in his limited action, but again, it's like a really small sample size. I think he's got decent enough stuff to be a decent bullpen piece somewhere, and I hope he gets that opportunity somewhere. But like you mentioned, he might just end up back in the Dodgers minor league system. So who knows?
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's what's gonna happen. But yeah, we'll see. He hasn't been picked up yet. I did say we were done with spring training. However, this was just released, the non-roster invitees. So the big names that are sticking out is Josiah Gray. We've got Landon Knack, who was one of our pickups, Bobby Miller, Brandon Morrow, Jimmy Nelson, Ryan Pepio, Josh Swords is on there. So I'm going to take it as...
Is he?
Yeah, he is. He's on the non-roster invitees. Wow. Gus Farling is on there. Kendall Williams is on there. Hey, FedEx is back. Tim Fedorowicz is on there. Next list, Jacob Amaya, Michael Bush, Omar Estevez, Cody Hosey, Elliot Soto, Miguel Vargas, and Andy Pages. There's still other guys on there, but those are the main names.
Yeah, Devin Mann's on there.
Yeah, that stick out a little bit. So that's exciting. Kind of makes it feel extra real now that we're like right there. It's literally tomorrow, but for the most part, we kind of got, I would say I don't want to say our roster because there's still going to be some picking and choosing between that 26 man, but we've got an idea of who we're going to see out there for the most part for the Dodgers this year, I think. So we'll go over rosters a little bit more next week once they make it official that Turner's actually back. Cause as of now, they still can't make that official, which we will go over in a minute. But if you are paying attention to MLB Network, we do want to recognize a couple Dodger players. They released their top 10 100 list for the 2021 season. And of course, the Dodgers have like 9 players on there. They said it was 8 before the Justin Turner signing happened. So now it's 9. The list will be continued tonight. For some reason, they didn't do it yesterday and they did not do it over the weekend. So to this point, we've seen Will Smith came in at number 50, Turner came in at 46, and Muncy came in at 45. So that still leaves like 5 players left, I think. 5 or 6 players left, but I have to imagine Betts, Bellinger, Buehler, Kershaw, Seager, and I guess Bauer's in there. Maybe.
Yes, he's
Urias. Bauer's in there. But now that I'm looking at my math, I only have 8 names. Oh no, I do have 9. Never mind. So we're good. We are good. So yeah, then Bauer's the last one in there. That'll be in there.
Yeah. So I saw it. I don't want to call them gripes, but Muncy's not better than Turner. So
there were a lot of complaints over that list. I have no idea how they did it. Some of those guys ending up in the top 100 was pretty, not the Dodgers. Some other players that I've seen in there ending up in the top 100 was pretty wild to me.
I don't know how Smith made the top 50, but good for him. And like you mentioned, there's still Betts, Buehler, Kershaw, Bellinger, Bauer, and Seager left. So not bad at all, Dodgers.
When you've got 9 out of the top 100 players like on your team and only top 3 50. Like
9 out of top 50.
Top 50, and 3 of them are pitchers, like you've got 5 starting position players at all times that are a top 50 player on the field.
That's wild.
Smith has definitely been a lot of people have liked him this offseason in those shredder rankings. A lot of that, it's all because of what he can do with his bat. You very, very rarely hear what he does behind the plate. Again, he's still young, so we can hope he works some of that out. But I expected there to be quite a bit. I don't know why I was shocked when there were 9. I guess it kind of makes sense because all of these players were ending up on the top 10 list for their positions anyways. But in case you guys didn't know, the Dodgers are really damn good. So, I don't really know what to say when you've got basically 10% of the top 100 players on your team. That's basically where we're at with 9 out of 100. So, go Dodgers, go Andrew Friedman. I think this is going to be one hell of a year. And talking about one of those top 50 players, Justin Turner is back after he and the Dodgers reached an agreement on a 2-year deal over the weekend. At one point, I felt like this wasn't going to happen, and then it just seemed inevitable it was going to happen, and then it finally did. The Dodgers really went out this year and said, fuck the luxury tax. They don't even care. They went and tossed $34 million at Turner over 2 years, so $17 million in 2021 and $17 million in 2022 with a club option in 2023, which means it will not be up to Turner to decide whether or not he plays with the team in 2023, but the Dodgers will be able to make that decision. They've yet to make it official because the 40-man roster is full, but on Wednesday, they can move Caleb Ferguson and Tommy Kahnle to the 60-day IL, opening up a spot for Turner. This would push the Dodgers payroll to somewhere around the $250 million mark. I keep reading different things online. Kotz says one thing, Ken Rosenthal says another reporter says another thing. Basically, what you guys need to know is the Dodgers blew right past the luxury tax and are going to be paying percentages. How much percentage they'll be paying will be dependent on if they can get under this $250 million threshold. If they do, the penalties will be a little bit less. If they do not, the percentage will be higher, and their draft spot will be pushed back about 10 spots. Not a big deal. We see how the Dodgers draft. When this first came out, I was kind of like, well, I don't want to lose that draft spot. Thinking on it more, the way they draft and develop, 10 spots doesn't mean anything. So I say, screw it, spend all the money. Let's go out there and win another one. Turner reportedly had higher offers elsewhere, but wanted to return to LA. Not surprising. I did want to say, did you see Walker Buehler's tweet?
About the Brewers?
Yeah. Did you hear how the Brewers then spent their day on like all yesterday, how they spent their day? So in case you didn't see it, because he did delete it, Buehler tweeted, were we scared? The Brewers, like basically laughing at the Brewers, saying like, were we really supposed to be scared they were going to get Turner over us? He quickly deleted it. So Brewers fans have been posting a bunch of videos of Buehler like in the playoffs. Like I think when he got either lit up by Acuna on that one bad pitch, the grand slam back in 2018, I think it was, because he killed the Brewers in Game 7. So I know they aren't posting those video highlights, but Buehler cracks me up. This was during the UFC fight, and that dude is always tweeting during UFC fights. I think Buehler enjoys life very much and has a good time when he can, and I think that was a combination of him enjoying his night and being pretty pumped that Turner was back, and I love it. I thought that tweet was hilarious. I kind of wish he would have left it. It just makes it fun, I think, within the game when you make it about other teams like that. It wasn't anything personal. Like I don't know. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, no, it was pretty funny, but I mean, once it's sent, I mean, it gets already out there. People will screenshot it, but
yeah.
It just didn't want to be like a distraction or whatever, even though, again, it's once you put it out there, people can screenshot it and it's going to be out there forever. But as far as Turner goes, the $17 million was a lot because I think he's projected to get like 12. But as we've seen all offseason, the Dodgers clearly don't care about overspending, which is a deviation from what they've been doing. I mean, they gave Bauer 40. They gave Tryon 8 a year. They gave Turner 17. So to me, this says, okay, we won. Now let's do everything we can to try to win again, and we'll spend money to try to improve those odds. I'm not mad at it at all. Obviously, it's a good thing to get his bat back in the lineup, and I'm hoping that the DH does somehow come back before the season starts, so that way they can get him off his feet at least a few games to hopefully try to keep him healthier than what he has been.
Yeah. If they can keep those legs healthy, I'll be happy. 17 million. Had you asked me before the Bauer signing, I would have been like, no way in hell. Cause I thought maybe they were trying to not like blow through the luxury tax. As soon as they blew through the luxury tax, I didn't care. Like, let the players get their money. If the Dodgers if it's not going to stop the Dodgers from signing the players to be good, then I don't care how much money they spend. The only time I've ever been apprehensive about it was when it meant that they weren't going to sign a certain player because of money, but basically they said they didn't care this year is how it looks with the money. So I am all for it. I'm glad he's back. I know we had originally talked about this and I wasn't fully on board. I had kept saying I wanted no more than 2 years. I'm happy about it. I'm glad he's back. I feel like this is a good team to go run it out there again. Just please stay healthy. Owners, find a way to bring the DH and let our man get off his legs because we need that.
Very vocal about not wanting him back just because he's older and injured frequently. But once the options started dwindling, I was like, well, Turner has to be the option at this point because
there was
despite him being injured, he's still one of the better options. So it kind of is what it is at that point. I I would have wished they would for something else, but at the same time, I'm glad to see him back because I mean they've already lost Jock and Kike. Losing more people would be sucky, especially Turner because he's way bigger, more popular than those two, and I think he would have hurt a lot more than those two.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, even if we take away the baseball side, it's also just the impact he has had on the Los Angeles community and how much he has done for the LA community that I think it was hard for fans to imagine, like the Justin Turner Foundation, everything they did with the Dream Center during COVID and how much they've donated. I think it just would have been hard for fans to see him go. I'm happy he's back. I think it's great. I don't know if you saw Kershaw's post last night on Instagram. Actually, I don't. Yeah, never mind. You probably did
about Jock and Kike.
Yeah, or if you saw it somewhere else, like he called Jock a unifier, and I think something that a lot of fans never really saw. People mentioned it from time to time, but I think like Jock for the chemistry was a lot bigger for that team than I think a lot of us realized. We remember when he got sent down to AAA a couple of years ago, and the team just completely like fell off a cliff. When he got sent down, and Kershaw called him a unifier, said he was a guy that constantly brought people together. So to lose someone like Jock and Kike, and then if we added Turner on top of it, probably not the most ideal situation. So I'm glad the Dodgers said, screw the money and just went for it and paid him. Because whether or not we agree with the injury side of things, one thing you and I have always agreed on is get that money. If you're a player, screw these owners, screw the billionaires, take all that money from them you can. So, hey, good for Turner. Yeah. And we'll see what happens with that 30-year option. I would not be surprised if he decides to end and that turns into like some type of Chase Utley on the not roster spot, but as a coaching type situation like Utley did that first year after he retired, where we could still see Turner out there as helping out with batting or development, but not as a roster guy. So
I will take that because he consistently gives good at bats. I think he knows what he's doing up there. So I would appreciate him helping out the hitters there. Yes.
That too, just between like him and Mookie, like imagine if we got a full season of Turner and Mookie helping out our hitters versus just that 60 games and that short, like summer, spring training, whatever you want to call it. Like I'm really excited to see how Barnes comes out. First, he had Mookie help him. Then he was basically in a small time little bit, a World Series hero and ended Blake Snell's time in Tampa Bay. And now he's had a son. So we've always seen what some of these guys do when they go and have kids. I'm super excited. He signed a 2-year
strength. Yeah,
he signed a 2-year contract. He doesn't have to worry about arbitration. So his mind can be fully focused on going out there and doing well. So I'm excited for guys like him to see what Betts will do with a full season of him and Turner as well. But to move on to the next stuff, we talked about not losing some guys. Obviously, these names are much smaller when you think of the kind of scope of the whole team, but Friedman did make a couple trades on Friday, and the first one was sending Adam Kolarek and Cody Thomas to the A's for infielder Sheldon Neuse and right-handed pitcher Gus Farling. This was the first of only 2 trades that came that day. Sheldon Neuse is the one we're kind of talking about. We jokingly have called him Max Muncy 2.0 coming from the A's and the build he has. So he's on the 40-man roster. Varland is not as of now. However, we did see Varland got invited to spring training. So do we see Neuse on the 26-man at all? What do we have? What are we getting out of these two guys?
Yeah, before I get into that, I want to talk about Kolarek and Thomas really fast. So, of course, as we know, Kolarek was a lefty specialist. And with the 3-batter minimum, I think this was a good move for the Dodgers because I don't feel like they trust him in that role or with the task of getting the 3 outs. Because, of course, they can just, if there's a lefty, they can just pinch hit a right-handed hitter, and he wasn't all that good against right-handed hitters. With him moving to the A's, maybe he'll get more opportunities. So best of luck to him. As far as Cody Thomas go, he has incredible power, and since there right now is a DH in the AL, and the A's trade away their DH Chris Davis, Cody Thomas might get a shot at the big league level, which is good for him. So I wish them all the best with the A's. As far as Neuse goes, I'm excited because, again, like you mentioned, he gives off this big Max Muncy vibes. That's because he looks like him. Like the build is very, very similar. Neuse might be slightly taller and maybe a little more round, but he's hit well in the minors.
If he can go out there and give us that same, you know what I want? I want another guy like Muncy, that same type of fire, some type of guy who's ready to just fight everyone on your team.
Oh, yeah, because
Muncy's like the first one ready to fight right there. Like no matter who it is, he doesn't care, and I love him for it. Sorry, I couldn't ignore that.
He's hit well in the minors. He's 26. And I'm thinking he'll probably be a right-handed bat off the bench because right now it's just, well, we don't know how it's going to go. Either Lux wins the second base job and Chris Taylor becomes right-handed off the bench, or Lux doesn't win the job and Taylor now plays second base and the bench is full of lefties. So I think he's got a pretty good shot at making the 26-man roster, especially since he can play second and third. And again, he's a big right-handed bat off the bench, which is pretty needed. As far as Gus Farling goes, he's 24. He's been projected as a back of the rotation starter, but I think most people see him as a bullpen piece in the future. Simply because when he throws in short spurts, that fastball gets to 96, 97. He also has a pretty good slider, which he gets a lot of swings and misses on. If he can develop that changeup more, he have a better chance of sticking in the rotation. But as of now, I think he can slide into the bullpen should he be needed in that role.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like you said, I wish nothing but the best for Kolarek and Cody Thomas. Might be better for Cody Thomas to go this route. Hopefully he got some development in with the Dodgers that he can take with him to Oakland. We got no issues with Oakland, so I like them as a team. I hope they do well. They've been a team that has found ways to win even with a small payroll, so hopefully they go into that AL West and have some success, especially against the Astros, Kolarek and Cody Thomas. If you guys want to have some success against them, we will happily cheer you on. The next trade came about only 3 hours after the fact. It wasn't even noon in LA before Friedman had both these trades done, I believe. So he was like just ready to go, clearing space, not even clearing space. That's actually not true because they were all straight swaps for 40-man roster spots. But he did send Dylan Floro, who we all know had that huge out in the World Series against Randy Arozarena. We cannot ignore that. That was such a huge moment. I believe it was the second inning of the game. But he, however, was sent to Miami for relief pitcher Alex Vesia, who did see some time very, very briefly in 2020, and right-handed pitcher Kyle Hurt. So I'm going to let you take it over for those two.
So I'm excited about Vesia because I think he's got pretty nasty stuff. I know you sent me that video of him throwing, I want to say it was a changeup, and it broke down to the left. It looked pretty nasty. In the minors in his 2 seasons, he struck out 12.4 batters per 9 innings. And even just last year, he was deemed the Marlins' future closer. So I think this was like a big time get for the Dodgers. Vesia is a fastball changeup, mostly pitcher. He'll add in a slider occasionally. So he'll throw the changeup to lefties, and then he'll throw the slider to the righties. In his 4 innings in the majors, he struggled with location, and he got lit up for it. But the potential is definitely there. He's got really nasty stuff. Kyle Hurt was drafted in the 5th round of this past draft out of USC. The fastball sits at 96, but it's pretty flat, so it's very hittable right now. The changeup has shown flashes as a plus pitch, but he struggled with his command. And he's had a lot of questions about his work ethic throughout his career, even in college. So not great, but I'm guessing the Dodgers see enough potential to take the risk on him and just hope he pans out. But either way, the Vesia get was really good for Dylan Floro.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. Like you mentioned, that video I sent you, I kind of just stared at it. So big fan of that. I'm excited for him, excited to see what he could do. Dodgers development when it comes to pitchers like this is far and above basically I think any other organization. I'm sure there's some bias there, but they turn out pitchers year after year. They take guys who aren't even supposed to.
I would only say maybe the Rays. I was going to say maybe the Rays. Pitchers really well, but it's only the pitchers for the Rays, whereas the Dodgers do both.
Yeah, that's true. With the Rays, it's a lot of guys they bring up. With the Dodgers, it's a lot of guys they bring up, but also guys they bring in. So good luck to those 3 guys. I hope they do well. I'm sure it's a very big change from LA. Glad Kolarek and Floro got their rings. They've been here for a couple. Well, Kolarek, they've both been there for a couple of years. So I'm glad they got their chance. Kolarek stepped up when we needed him in 2019 against the Nationals. Floro did it in 2020, of course, when it really mattered. So I'm just glad they got their rings, and I appreciate you guys for doing well so we could get back some decent talent. on to some other things that have happened in this past few days. Luckily, the Dodgers have avoided arbitration with both of their players, Barnes and Buehler. Let's get into Buehler very quickly. He avoided arbitration when the Dodgers and him agreed to a 2-year deal worth $8 million. This seems like a total freaking steal. I believe Walker is set up to be a Super 2, so he's going to have like 4 years of arbitration, something like that. So basically, as we've talked about very quickly, arbitration goes up depending on how he does, rarely ever goes lower. So the fact that they were able to get him to agree to 2 years and lock him in for basically $4 million a year just seems like a freaking win for the Dodgers. That seems like if he goes out and has a solid 162 game season, he's probably worth more than $4 million. And that's basically all they're going to be paying him next year.
More than $4 million now.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're getting
but arbitration's stupid.
Yeah, arbitration screws guys. That's why I'm curious to see what happens in the CBA this year. I think some of that'll change. Yeah. So basically his base salary in 2022 will increase by $500,000 at each of the following thresholds. So once he starts 14 games, every 2 after that, 16, 18, 20, 20. Well, actually it goes from 2 and then it goes to 8. It goes 14, 16, 18, 20, 24, 28. It would increase by 1.1 million if he wins Cy Young Award, or 625,000 if he finishes second or third. So there's some escalators in there, incentives for him to do a little bit better, which kind of makes me wonder. We saw a video of him last night working in the bullpen, and he is notorious and has admitted it himself. He does not start seasons early. He is a very slow starter. I'm wondering if, first of all, the struggles in 2020 to start, obviously he was fantastic in the postseason, but to start the season was really rough. A lot of times he didn't even get to record starts because he didn't even make the full 5 innings. So I'm wondering if these deals and the game started, because he has to throw 5 innings to get that. So you want him built up. So I'm wondering if a lot of this is him starting earlier. Obviously throwing 1 bullpen session doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean he started earlier, but I am curious to see if this has anything to do with him starting up sooner, and if we see Buehler kind of turning in those postseason numbers maybe in August or September instead of waiting till October. But hey,
yeah, I mean those money escalators will really help players. You know?
Oh yeah,
I mean 500,000 doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot.
Yeah,
it can help.
And
he's newly married. I'm sure they'll probably end up having kids soon.
Yeah, so, engaged, but yeah. So.
Oh yeah.
No, the escalators are crazy. Like 14 games started. If he's healthy, there's no reason he can't throw and make at least 24 starts, if not more. So the fact he's getting 500,000 just every 2 starts and then 4 starts once he hits 20, that's a pretty big incentive to push him. So,
and him starting earlier means he finds his groove earlier. Maybe he could push for a Cy Young.
I'd love to see him. Yeah, he's a guy that you think can go out and win a Cy Young every year, but if you really pay attention to him, you realize it probably might not happen because he spends his seasons, he's admitted it, tweaking everything. He spends his right.
He's exactly like Steven Strasburg. They just go out there. They have, I mean, they're not great seasons. They're good seasons, and then they go to the playoffs and just completely shut shit down.
Yeah, which is fantastic with the Dodgers because they don't need Buehler to get to the playoffs. Like, if we're being honest, Buehler is not there to help them get to he's there because they brought him up in the farm. But if we look at it, Buehler's not there to get them regular season. We need the wins, but I think we've all kind of realized when it comes to Buehler, if you're going to suck it up and give us a 4 ERA in the regular season, nobody cares if he's going to come out and does what he does in October. So as long as that keeps happening, I don't care. Just pay the man, keep him here in Dodger blue. And because that dude in October is just on a different level. It's insane.
I hope they come. No, it probably won't happen this year, but maybe next year when some money starts to fall off. I would hope to see a longer term contract.
Yeah, I could see him working
Despite me not liking to pay pitchers long term, he's your own. I would
it's a little different when you bring him up in your system and you have everything you need to know about the guy. Right. You know, so I'm right there with you with Buehler. They might not do anything next year, which would make sense too, because they signed him to 2-year and then they have to worry about Bauer still next year and possibly Seager. So I could see them trying to buy out his arbitration and signing him to a long year deal once these 2 years are up. Another one, like we mentioned with Barnes, he was waiting on possibly arbitration court, but instead he signed a 2-year deal worth $4.3 million. This feels like another steal. I know he probably would not have gotten more than that, but I think Barnes is so undervalued when it comes to what he does behind the plate and how he helps those pitchers. Don't get me wrong. These pitchers are fantastic all on their own, but it would be insane to also pretend that Austin Barnes has nothing to do with this, because if you look at the numbers between when Will Smith catches someone and Austin Barnes, you can see the pitchers clearly do better with Barnes. And
here's the thing with Smith, they're not even bad. Like May with Smith is like a 2.9.
It's just Barnes is that good.
It's like 1.7. It's a full run and some lower. So Barnes really knows how to handle the staff well. I think I've said this before, but as far as backups go, I don't think you can do any better than Austin Barnes. So I am glad he's back. And I'm still on the start Austin Barnes train. I'm sorry, Will Smith. I appreciate what you do offensively, but I don't care for my catcher to hit like that. I need him to handle the staff. So until you can do that, I want Barnes starting because, he pitches better with, or Buehler and Kershaw pitch better with Barnes. I would imagine Bauer will probably pitch better with Barnes as well. Yeah, and we kind of need those three to do well. So
yeah, I'm on Team Barnes, and a lot of it is also just because a ton of us were assholes to him for most of his career. I think not fully recognizing just how good he was behind the plate. Some fans did. I'm not going to pretend like we were all, but myself included, was not really the nicest guy to him. Watching him paying more attention to the catching side of things has really made me stick out for him. So. Big fan of his.
He's like in the 97th percentile in framing in other catching categories. So he's top notch on defense.
Yeah, and when you have guys that are as good as Kershaw and Buehler, that framing, oh man, you get those calls so much more when you have someone like that, and especially someone like Kershaw who's been in the league for so long and has been so good. He's definitely getting those benefit of the doubt calls because he's Kershaw, but also because Barnes is so good. However, this will buy out the last 2 years of his arbitration, making him a free agent after the 2022 season. Not sure what the Dodgers will do then because they have so much, but it's 2 more years, so I'm not going to worry about it. So yeah, I'm happy for Barnes, got what he wanted. So on to our next stuff. We tried to come up with questions for you guys, but obviously there's a big article that came out last week for the LA Times that we cannot ignore. And this is actually something you and I have discussed for a couple months now and just waited until we were closer in season to bring it up. But Clayton Kershaw is no longer under contract with the Dodgers after 2021. So the article that came out through LA Times was basically him saying he isn't entirely sure what he is going to do after the 2021 season. He doesn't know if he wants the Dodgers to extend him, and that has nothing to do with the Dodgers. I'll get that out there right now. It's just the fact that he does not know if he wants to continue playing. He's got 3 kids with his oldest, Callie, going to school now. They live in Texas, so there's always been the conversation, does he leave for the Rangers after 2021? So we wanted to discuss this because I can't imagine a Dodger team without Clayton Kershaw on it, let alone knowing Clayton Kershaw is on another team when he could be on ours. I feel like it's very hard with Kershaw because he's always been about the team and about winning. And now that he's got that ring, he has nothing else to prove. He's got multiple Cy Youngs. He's won an MVP. He's won the World Series, and he's done what he's wanted to do in this sport. He's a Hall of Famer, first ballot, no doubt about it. So I don't know how to feel about this. I want him to return because I am selfish and I'm a baseball fan and I want to continue watching him play. But I also love the guy enough that I want him to do what's best for him and his family. And if that means getting to walk his daughter to school every day so he has to play in Texas for the Rangers, it'll break my heart and I will be very sad and cry over it. But I want to see what's best for him. I don't know how you feel. It's kind of rough to talk about. It was not an easy article to read.
I think we're pretty much on the same page here. It could really go any of the 3 ways. He could resign, he could retire, or he can go elsewhere. They're all pretty much even right now. But Kershaw's always struck me as like a Koufax type who's going to get out before he has a steep decline. So I can definitely see him retiring, but also signing like a 2-year deal to finish out his career at home with the Rangers would make a lot of sense as well. Now, from a Dodgers fan perspective, like you mentioned, selfishly, I would prefer he just retire than see him in another jersey. But he's done so much for the Dodgers and the community that no matter what he decides, he's definitely earned it. And he will have my respect no matter what he decides to do.
And I think that's where most of the fan base sits. It's one of the biggest moments I constantly go back to when I think of the World Series was him like looking up in the bullpen, like, my God, we finally did it. Like the relief that you could just see on his face when he held the trophy up. You could see like the tears in his eyes starting to build up. Like, it's just one of those things that's like, any other player, if he were to leave the team, I'd be like, that sucks. I'm bummed, but bye. Once Kershaw goes, I don't know how I am going to handle that. I think I can't speak for any other fan but myself, but I think this is very fair across a lot of the fan base. I think a lot of us took him for granted and didn't completely understand what we had with him. And so we appreciated those big starts, the no hitters. But I think when you look at his entire career as a whole, a lot of us didn't do a good job. It was myself included here, very much so, constantly bitching about the playoffs, everything that went on there. And it's like, then you learn and find out that the Astros cheated, taking that ring away from him in 2017, which I wrongfully so, not knowing this, blamed him for the 2017 World Series loss for most of the time because of that start that happened where he blew that 4-run lead. And it made me feel awful when I found out the Astros cheated, because it's like, I put all this blame on this dude when it was like, it really wasn't on him. And so it's like, now all I want is he got his championship. I just want him to be happy. But I'd like for him to be happy in LA. It's not even fun to talk about. Like, I don't even, it's not even enjoyable to talk about this. We just have to, because I don't want to talk about it during the season. So,
but the fans definitely did take him for granted. I mean, besides like his rookie year, his worst year was, his ERA was 3.03.
Yeah,
guys,
which is stupid in itself. A career 3.03 pitcher is pretty damn good, let alone their worst season ever.
Like, seriously, 3.03 is better than anything I think Buehler or Strasburg or people like that have done. Like, that's 3.03 is not easy to do. I know it's a big fall off because we're used to seeing Kershaw in the high 1s or low 2s, but that's still extremely good. Even despite his dip in velocity, he's managed to be a better pitcher. Like, he just doesn't use his velocity to get by anymore. He's learned to pitch and like the nuances of pitching and counts and things. So it's definitely going to be rough that this might be his last season, but I'm just going to enjoy the ride and hope for the best. And I hope he goes out on top again.
That's how I feel. If it's going to be his last one, I need the Dodgers to win. I don't care about what other fan bases have to say about our championship. I don't care what anyone has to say. I need the Dodgers to win so Kershaw can go out a champion. He can have that parade. He can do it with 55,000 fans in the stadium, at his home stadium. Well, home stadium in the sense that this is his team.
His home stadium, he kind of won in.
Yeah, that's true. That is cool for him. But this is at the end of the day, LA is, in baseball sense, it is his home. So I need to see him win it there. I want him to have that joy. He deserves to have that many fans yelling and cheering for him. So I really hope this isn't it. If it is, it's gonna be wild. But for the time being, until he tells us it is, I'm gonna pretend it's not. But I am going to watch every single start and just appreciate it and appreciate everything he does.
I also want to say this: if this is it, yes, thank you for everything. But I'm also super excited for people like Josiah Gray and Bobby Miller, and I can't wait for spots to open up for them to be able to slide in, because I think they're going to be great too.
Yeah.
Not Kershaw great, but they'll be great.
No, Yeah, nobody. Yeah, I don't think anyone's coming out of that system
no.
like Kershaw did. Maybe like playoff Buehler we can put up there with like that, but that's just playoff Buehler.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be a weird season. I honestly think he's one of those people that won't even make a decision until the season is over. Like he may not even know. I think we saw it in years past when media kept bugging him like, oh, are you signing an extension during the season? And he basically was like, yo, leave me alone. Like we don't do this during the regular season. So I think it could all really depend. If they win the World Series again, I could 100% see him calling it a career because what a way to go out. You finish it off. You just won back-to-back. There really is nothing else like to do. I mean, there really is nothing for him at this point anyways, but
I think if they win again, he's gone.
Yeah.
He's gonna retire.
Which is the best way for him to go out.
Yes.
I would rather him go out that way as a champion and him feeling all of the love from LA than them losing this year and him being like, okay, I need to come back. And then they just don't win again when he's here. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, this is not something like we want to make people sad about, but I don't think this has been brought up until they wrote that article that he's in his last contract, last season on contract, I should say. Not that we even know this is last season, but it is something that we're not talking about enough. So watch Kershaw this year and don't take advantage of it and just appreciate everything you got because these players' careers fly by. Even as a fan,
even if he's not great, just appreciate the ride that we've been on.
And because even if he's not great, I guarantee you mentioned guys like Bobby Miller, Josiah Gray, I guarantee you they're learning plenty from him. So him being on this roster is going to do a lot for these upcoming young guys. And we see how close Buehler is with him and how much Buehler respects him. So I guarantee he's doing a lot in there for those young guys. So I'm excited for this season and, I hope he's ready to go so he can get yet another opening day start because he deserves it. He needs to be out there for us. But talking about the 2021 season, I don't know if it went around. It started on Twitter, I think, where we saw you sent it to me, but I saw it going around on Twitter. Basically, it was take your team and project their record. Who's going to win the Cy Young on your team? MVP, breakout player, reliever of the year, comeback player of the year, and playoff finish. So we are going to go ahead and do this. Remember, it is just around the Dodgers. So this is not like who we think will win Cy Young out of the whole league. It's just on the team. You want to go first?
The whole thing or just one by one?
Just go for it. You can do the whole thing. No, you can do the whole thing.
So for the record, what was their projected? 104, 105?
102.9 or something, 103.
Okay, so for the record, I had 97 and 65. I think that's where they had the Padres. So it's a little lower than the projections, but I went that low just in case of injuries. And, of course, there's questions about the bench now that Jock and Kike are gone. So I took a slightly conservative route there. As far as Cy Young goes, I went with Bauer. I know it's a little interesting. I can see it. Because I think his peripherals look really good.
I just think he's going to get better with the pitching staff around him.
I would say, and that, and also I think pitching to better catchers would help as well. But also, since I've said this out loud, he's going to end up being super average. So for the Bauer fans, I am so sorry. I genuinely just think he was going to be the team MVP. But again, superstitious. Now I said it out loud, he's probably going to be really bad. So sorry about that. MVP, I was actually torn on this one, but I'm going to go the safe route and go Betts.
Who was the other?
Bellinger.
Okay.
I think Bellinger's that good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went with Betts. The breakout player, I know where everyone's expecting me to go, but because I'm superstitious, I'm not going to mention his name. Instead, I'm going to go with a new Dodger reliever, Vesia. I just really high on him. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people, and I think he's going to be really fun to watch. I will say
MLB came out with an article today that said top 10 hitters who will break out, and your man was definitely on there. So if you want to blame anyone, you can blame MLB.
Well, see, when other people do it, it's fine. It's just I feel like whenever I say something out loud, like if I think it in my head and it ends up happening, cool. But when I say it out loud to other people, then it starts to not happen. And I'm like, oh, I jinxed them. Sorry. So, yeah, just not going to say anything. You just hope for the best. But as far as reliever of the year goes, this is someone who I've been excited about since we got him, and that's Corey Knebel.
Damn it.
I think he's just downright really good when healthy, and if he's healthy, I'm expecting him to win the closer role at some point during the season. Comeback player of the year, I think Price is the easy answer, but Knebel could also win this just because he was hurt. So if Price is here, I'll take Price, but if Price is traded or no longer with the Dodgers, I'm going to go Knebel. As far as playoff finish goes, I'm going to say the Dodgers will lose in the NLCS because going back-to-back is extremely difficult, no matter how good your team is.
I hate to interrupt you, but I wanted to bring something up about the back-to-back because we got that totally wrong on last week's episode. You know, the 1998 and 1999 and 2000 Yankees went back-to-back-to-back?
Back-to-back, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a stupid team.
I saw that. Yeah.
That's a stupid team. Like, not stupid. Like, stupid isn't very good. A lot of people are like calling the Dodgers the past Yankees, like the way they're spending. Again, money doesn't buy you a championship, so it doesn't matter. Like, I think people need to stop thinking like they're just gonna go and win a World Series. Like, it's very, very, very
difficult. Yeah,
difficult,
those
and it's
Yankee
very
teams were just and I think they got to one in 2001 and then lost to the Diamondbacks. And then they got there again in 2003 and lost to the Marlins. So they were just on an incredible run.
Yeah.
But that's extremely difficult to do. Yeah.
Yeah. We saw the Royals go back-to-back years, like the Dodgers. They won one, lost one. But
they lost to the Giants and then beat the Mets. So it's difficult. Can the Dodgers get back to the World Series? Sure. But like I mentioned last year, I prefer they lose in the NLCS than lose in the World Series. I can't do that again.
No, yeah, no, we're not doing that again. Now that we've won it,
maybe,
it's a little different.
But yeah, I don't want to do it. So they just won in a shortened season, but there was so much uncertainty with the virus, and of course there was expanded playoffs. So it actually might have been slightly more difficult to win that one.
That's something though that I feel like a lot of people don't touch. So going into my record, I was gonna change it coming into the podcast. Because what I did was I went 99 and 63. You know how much heat I got on Twitter for saying the Dodgers would not win 100 games because our fan base is so spoiled that we think winning 100 games is easy when it's hard as hell, especially when you arguably have the second best team in baseball in your division, possibly in the Padres, maybe in the Padres, at least arguably second best NL team right behind with the Braves. But yeah, I think the Dodgers win more than 100 games. The reason why my record, I went with 99 and 63 is because winning 100 games is not easy. And the Dodgers were so lucky in 2020 that there was no injuries that hurt them a bunch. They didn't have like a Mike Soroka case where Buehler blew out his ACL, whatever, for Achilles for the rest of the season. And we didn't have to deal with any breakouts until Game 6 of the World Series. But we didn't have to deal with any breakouts. So the Dodgers were, obviously they did this themselves. They stayed healthy. They made sure not to put themselves in a situation that would allow them to get coronavirus. However, they did not have to deal with those things. If some of these other teams, if the Braves still have Soroka, does that not even go to 7 games and we lose? Like, there's stuff that I feel like we have to pay attention to as fans, that winning 100 games is not easy at all, ever. That doesn't mean I don't think they will. I do think they will. Rockies are awful, but anything can happen. So I just felt safer going with a 99 and 63 record. So that's what I'm going to stick with. My Cy Young, I went with Kershaw, just expecting him to have a good year. And although he did say in that article, he's had a hard time finding it in himself to get back out and get working. He's like, I won it. What's the rush?
Yeah, so, I was like, oh no, Kershaw.
That's gonna be a lot of the guys I'm worried about. We're gonna see if that hangover thing is real. I don't think it will be with our guys, and I think once Kershaw's out there tomorrow, it'll be a different story. So I went with Kershaw.
I'm not worried about the offense because I think Betts has won twice already, and he's still just like, he's gonna keep the hitters like, yo, stop fucking around, let's go.
Yeah, no, Betts. Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I think they're gonna get out there. They'll do their thing. It's what they do. If anything, they'll be a little bit looser when they go out to spring training because they won. So that'll be nice to see. It'll be nice to see them out there happy instead of like, what can we do to go win this year? We didn't finish our goal. Like, nah, they did this year. So I'm happy to see that. Breakout player. this might be cheating a little bit because I guess you could say he broke out in the playoffs, but I'm going with Urias. I expect to see some of that playoffs finally roll over into the regular season. So I'm hoping to see some success for him. Hopefully no more first inning jitters would be fantastic, but as of now, they said they do want him in the rotation. So I have him as my breakout player. My reliever of the year went Knable. I'm super excited for him. Comeback player of the year, I went with Price, just seemed like the obvious choice there. And then playoff finish, I had to go with back-to-back. So that's where I'm at. Will it happen? Who knows? Baseball playoffs are such a crapshoot. They have the talent to do it. So as long as there's no crazy injuries and they don't beat themselves, I could absolutely see it happening. But I do think teams like the Braves will be a little bit tougher. We went to 7 games, so that was tough as is. But I do get a little worried that maybe next time around the Padres don't go out as easy, or the Braves don't let us come back from a 3-1 deficit. So either way, I'm excited. This team has
Atlanta sports and blowing leads seems to be a thing.
Yeah. So who knows, maybe, but something I do.
But also, they're still very good though. So I'm not gonna take
they are. I am curious about the Padres. I still know we are the better team. But man, they've got a lot of young players that if they continue developing well, they could come out here and be a really good team this year. So I'm excited. I kind of hope we see another playoff series with them. That was a lot of fun. Luckily, we played them very early in the season because I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, that was it with our predictions. So now just the quick MLB news. The main signings this last week. Adam Duvall signs a 1-year, $4.5 million deal with the Marlins. Dodger Jake McGee came in, was solid with the Dodgers, and earned himself a 2-year contract worth $7 million with the Giants. So we will be seeing him and Alex Wood in San Francisco this year. The Red Sox traded Andrew Benintendi to the Royals in a 3-team trade. The Red Sox received Franchi Cordero and 2 players to be named later from the Royals, and right-handed pitcher Josh Winkowski and a player to be named later from the Mets. The Royals' number 8 prospect Khalil was dealt to the Mets. So I don't know. That trade was just too much for me to try and keep up with. Too much going on, too many people moving. John Jay signs a 1-year deal, $1.1 million deal with the Angels. Marwin Gonzalez signs a 1-year deal worth $3 million with the Red Sox. So Kike is going to be over there hanging out with quite a few cheaters on the Red Sox between Cora and Marwin Gonzalez. So I guess enjoyed that. Mark Malanson signed with the Padres. No details on his contract yet. The Padres just have not stopped.
That's a good signing for the Padres because Melanson's killed the Dodgers.
If he could, especially if they can kind of help him tweak back to where he was a couple of years ago. Another move for the Padres, still waiting on contract info, but they are in agreement with Keone Kela, who pitched for the Pirates. I think he was decent at one point as well. Good friend Rich Hill signs a 1-year, $2.5 million deal with the Rays pending the physical. I will say I'm excited to see him as a Ray. I think that could be they know how to use their pitchers pretty well, but I'm excited to see him play the Red Sox because I want to see him go up against Kike and Doogie. So that will be fun there. Jake Arrieta returns to the Cubs after signing a 1-year contract worth $6 million. James Paxton will be returning to the Mariners on a 1-year, $8.5 million deal. And that's really it for this week on baseball news. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
I have something quickly. So I just saw something. Just quick thoughts. You don't have to go into detail. I mean, obviously, I'm just springing this on you. But, okay, so the Dodgers trade Tony Gonsolin. This doesn't happen. It's just someone proposal. So the Dodgers trade Tony Gonsolin, Cody Hosey, Diego Cartaya, and DJ Peters, and they get Matt Chapman.
DJ Peters, Gonsolin. Who was the other one?
Cartaya and Hosey.
Holy. I don't know.
Part of me feels like this isn't enough, but if that's on the table, I'd do it.
Yeah, with Cartaya, I'm not too worried because Ruiz, and then Hosey would be a bummer, but you have Chapman replacing him, so he becomes kind of useless. I like Gonsolin a lot. Don't get me wrong. I would be okay with him being traded just because he deserves a playing time somewhere, and I don't know how much of that he's truly going to get with the Dodgers. DJ Peters, I mean, deuces. I'm sorry, but I don't care.
The right-handed Cody Thomas, they do the same thing.
Yeah,
he can go reunite with Cody Thomas. Yeah. I would do this. Because I mean, Cartag's projected to be better than all our catchers, but
it's like
Smith
17
isn't terrible.
18, yeah.
Ruiz should be all right, and then
we just picked up that catcher.
Yeah. They have plenty.
That's
of
interesting.
options.
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't be mad over it. I don't know if I can make a decision right now, but I wouldn't like get upset over it. That's for sure.
I think there's better offers on the table, but I mean,
wait, is this like a proposed, or is this just like a fan spotlight?
Just like a fan was going through like the teams who are interested in Chapman.
Oh, okay.
What they would give up for him, and I mean, if I'm the Dodgers, I think I would 100% do this.
Yeah, I think they could make it work. That'd be one hell of a team, that's for sure. I'd feel bad for I wouldn't feel bad at all because I don't actually care about other teams and their fan base's feelings, but I would like it. It'd be enjoyable. So I think though that is all we have for this week. So as always, we appreciate you guys listening. Thank you very much. You can keep up with all of our stuff at Dodger Yard on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We'll be doing some stuff on YouTube soon, Facebook. Make sure you check out our website, dodgeryard.com. We have articles coming out on there with everything kind of going on, trying to keep up as much as possible. If you ever want to do any writing for us too, feel free to hit us up on the Dodger Yard account on Twitter or Instagram. Doesn't really matter, or you can just hit me up. But if you want to find my social, it is Randy_Radcliffe on Twitter and Instagram.
Oh, you can find my socials on allmylinks.com/Konu, KONU, and you can find all my social medias on there.
And we appreciate you guys listening, tuning in. Thank you guys. As always, pitchers and catchers report tomorrow. First full squad workout is on February 23rd. So be on social media in the morning because you're going to see tons of stuff coming in from that Dodgers social media team. And we cannot wait to actually talk about real baseball activity going on next week. It is no longer assumptions and guesses. It will actually be discussing what is going on at baseball. So I cannot wait. And until then, I hope you guys have a good rest of your morning, night, evening, afternoon, weekend, whenever it is you listen to this. And we will talk to you guys next week. Bye, guys.
See you later, guys.